Hello dear viewer and welcome back to my channel with this new video of Final Fantasy X. Today I'm going to continue the complete walkthrough with the next very lengthy quest, capturing monsters for the monster arena. But this quest is particularly lengthy and it cannot be covered in just one video, so I am going to start with the first part, Calm Lands. Calm Lands can be accessed during the storyline after the Bevel story, and in the previous video I was talking about all the Chocobo quests, which can be done pretty much in the same place. So I am assuming that you followed the previous video. If you did not, well, it's not mandatory to have the Chocobo for this quest, but since we are there, we might as well do all the side quests at the same time. So the monster arena can be found here. It's in the eastern part of Calm Lands. For this quest you have to enter, speak to the old man, which will explain basically what this quest is all about, but basically you will have to capture a lot of monsters. So the short summary is, he lets all the monsters from the arena escape. You have to capture them all by finishing them off by using those special weapons. You want to buy a few of them for your main fighters, so forget about mages, don't buy the Trapper Mog for example, just buy, my recommendation would be 3 weapons for your 3 main warriors, and I have chosen Tidus, Walker and Auron to be my fighters and my capturers, let's say, just because they have different profiles. If you are simply using the sphere grid, like if you're not overpowered and have completely broken characters, if you have just regular characters from the main story, those 3 warriors will be the best. Auron hits hard, Tidus can hit those wolf dogs enemies, and Walker is best for those flying enemies. So basically with those 3 warriors in your team, you'll be able to tackle down all enemies and capture them all, at least to reopen the monster arena. I am using the Chocobo here just because Calm Lands is a particular zone. You cannot find all monsters in the same area, so let's start here at the entrance. In this part, you can have the vast majority of monsters, but not them all. Let's start with these enemies. I bumped into them first, so let's start with them. Their name is Curl. They have quite a lot of HP and some magic, but they are not really dangerous, so simply use all of your characters if you want XP, and make sure that you finish them off with any of your 3 characters. I believe Auron will be the best because he hits the hardest, so make sure that you finish them off with Auron with his special sword. Of course you don't want to use the regular sword, remember you have to use the weapons sold by the old man in the monster arena. So, if done properly, like in this video, you will have the monster disappearing in a bluish special effect instead of the regular death animation, plus you will have the reminder at the top of the screen saying whatever monster captured. You'll have a limit of 10 monsters of the same time captured at once. So for example, you cannot capture more than 10 curls, but for the side quest, at the moment we need only 1 of each. So if you ever encounter a second curl, or for example like in this fight you have 2 curls, you can and should capture them all. You will need in the end 10 of each, but at the moment we are just going to start the quest, so the bare minimum is 1 of each at the moment. So let's continue. At the beginning of this area you can have other monsters such as the dog, it's called I believe Skull, and the flying enemies, which is the Nebiros. The machine monsters, such as the one I just destroyed, cannot be captured at all. If you ever encounter a machine in whatever area, you can simply destroy them, steal them to, kill them in just one hit, but don't bother trying to capture them. In Cormlands, there are 9 different species of monsters that you can capture. I have already captured the Curl, so if I add the Skull and the Neberos from this fight, I have already 3 of the 9 different species that can be captured in Cormlands. Once more, it is entirely up to you if you want to capture more than one of each. It will save you time in the end to capture everything that you encounter up to the limit of 10 monsters, but once more, this can be done in any order, and it is entirely up to you and your organization. Personally, I am going to capture all the monsters that I encounter, and I will stop until I have at least one of each, at least in Calmlands at the very beginning of this quest. The next monster is the Kimura Brain. This is this quite of weird looking enemy. My recommendation, since those are slightly stronger than regular monsters in this area, you can use the Slow or Sloga spell with Tidus, and this will give you much more time to bring in all of your characters, rack up all the experience for all of them, plus you will be able to capture them with preferably Auron, but use whatever character you have. It is a good idea when you start this quest, which should be during the main storyline, so you don't have to wait for after all the story events. You should kill them, well, capture them and steal them. This way you will get a lot of items plus experience, and this will be very useful when you will want to start more difficult areas. I will mention them obviously, but just for the sake of the record, I am fighting the vast majority of monsters that I am encountering, but I am not grinding any specific area. So I have more or less a regular level, and this is important because Final Fantasy X, when it comes to the storyline, it doesn't encourage you to grind a lot. Bosses are not so difficult. There are a lot of specific strategies that you can use to take them down without any issue. So if you are doing this quest naturally, you will have the correct level required to complete the storyline and then start to tackle all of those side quests. Anyway, let me capture the second Kimura Brain here, and this is my 4th species. There are 2 additional kind of monsters that can be found in the southern part of Cormlands. Both of them are actually present in this fight. In the center we have this kind of spheric armored monster, and it is called Shred. So the Shred can be damaged mostly with piercing weapons. So as you can see here, I am not dealing much damage, but if you have a capture weapon with the piercing special effect, it will be much more effective. If, like me, you completely forgot to bring or to add the piercing status to one of your capture weapons, simply use Kimura or someone with the piercing weapon to remove the majority of its HP pool, and then you can finish him off with regular attacks. And the second monster, which be the last of the southern monsters, is the Flame Flan, the red monster in the background. This red monster can be a pain to capture just because normally you defeat him with magic, and this time we don't have magic to capture. I mean, if you use magic you will simply kill him and not capture him. So what I just used was the magic break ability just to diminish the efficiency of his attack. This way I can use my main characters. It still takes a while, but at least with the magic break inflicted on him, I will suffer much less from his attack. And that's it. I have my next monster captured. So, I will continue this guide in the northern part of Comlands, and this is really important. Like those monsters, I believe those are the Anacondas, but I am not sure. But anyway, those monsters cannot be found in the southern part. You will have to go completely to the north and wait until they appear. They are not really difficult, they don't have much health or strong attacks, but as you can see they have this petrification attack and this can be deadly. So make sure that you have either Riku with Albeit Potions or simply the regular item to remove petrification. It is up to you. So be ready for that because they always appear in pairs and they always use those attacks. At least it's highly frequent. So capture at least one of them, both if you can, and move on. Also, just as a side note, in the future parts of this quest, because I cannot cover everything in just one video, so I will make several videos just for this quest, but for the future parts, I will always tell you where to find the monsters and how to defeat them. And I will go in chronological order, so we'll start with Calmlands because this is where you can begin this place, and I will continue with all the locations chronologically. And when we arrive at the end of the storyline, I will let you know how to get back to the previous areas and how to capture the monsters there. Anyway, back at Calmlands, I was exploring in the northern part just because I wanted to open a chest with Titus and wow, I just bumped into this extremely deadly opponent. It is called the Malboro and it is famous because he appears in several Final Fantasy games and he's always a pain to deal with just because he has this very annoying attack called Bad Breath. And this attack will inflict all status ailments in every characters basically unless they have resistances. But this is particularly difficult to protect yourself against all of them at once, not until you get into late game where you have usually a special equipment called the ribbon that can protect your character against everything. This is why when you're in that specific zone in Calmlands, you'll have to be extremely careful and you'll have to either equip a lot of protecting equipment or make sure that you can run away if you encounter this guy. But we will need to capture him at least once if you want to reopen the monster arena, so let me tell you the strategy here. First, I was using all of my characters with the haste spell if possible, just to gather a lot of experience and make sure that the ones that are available just when he is going to attack are the ones that have either protective equipment or like what I have with Riku, she has the auto remedy equipment. It is very useful because she will automatically use a remedy on herself when she has you know, status ailments. So this is incredibly useful and I recommend you to have this auto remedy equipment. By far the most painful ailment is confusion, and you can see if a character is confused if he has two yellow stars spinning above his head. In this case you have two options. You can use another character, have a remedy used on your confused character, or option B, use another character to attack your confused character. Both will work, and if you use a magician or let's say a low hitting character, it won't damage much your other character. It is up to you, but make sure that as soon as you see a confused character, treat him or let's say cure him immediately. And that's pretty much it. You're going to need a small amount of luck, but if you want to diminish the amount of luck required, have Riku with auto remedy each time the monster is about to attack, like I just did. She's simply going to attack or defend just in case Malboro is going to use his Bad Breath attack again. Also, the second bad news is that the Malboro has a crap ton of HP, so you can use fire-based attacks to deal more damage to him, or just fire with Lulu, or you can simply, like I just did, attack him over and over and over until you capture him. Make sure that you have at least one of the Malboros. You don't need to capture more at that point. I believe it is too risky, so if you encounter a second Malboro, simply escape and continue the storyline. We don't need more than one of each monster at the moment. So here in this fight we will have the last available monster in Calmlands. This is this kind of giant. Well, he's actually an ogre. Anyway, you want to capture one And for that, since he's almost always accompanied by those two wolf dogs skull enemies, first kill both of the skulls. And when you have only the ogre left, you want to use some negative ailments just to get rid of him more easily.
Heal us.
My favorite being darkness because, well, the ogre hits pretty hard actually, and when he has less of half of his health, he will automatically counter attack you, and you will see because he will raise his arms. So each time you will fight him, he will gain, let's say, a free additional attack on you, and since they hit really hard, the darkness attack is pretty useful in my opinion. And that's it for the beginning of this quest.
So,
If you have
how shall we do
the
this?
9 different monsters of Camlands, you will simply have to go back to the monster arena and talk to the old man, and this will complete the very first step of the side quest. You will be rewarded, and by a lot. It is incredibly useful to complete this quest early on, and you will see why in a few minutes. But trust me, this is extremely important even if you simply want to continue with the storyline and forget later on about this side quest. The first reward, which is useless at the moment but which will be extremely important later on, is this chest containing Yuna's ultimate weapon, Nirvana. You can open it only if you have the Celestial Mirror, which was obtained in the previous side quest, and I already made a video about it, so if you don't know how to get this Celestial Mirror, simply watch my previous video. Anyway, the second reward is this 64 plane wind, and when you have 60 of them, oh what a coincidence, well you can customize any of your weapons to have the Death Strike ability. And this passive ability will allow you to kill all monsters just by hitting them once. Yes, just once. So you attack them with the Death Strike weapon and they will automatically die on the very first hit. Of course, some monsters, like the most powerful ones plus all bosses, are completely immune to that. But for the rest of them, simply use your character with this customized weapon and kill all of them in just one hit. And you know what's best? We can add this Death Strike ability on the capture weapon. So that's right, we could. I personally did that on Tidus' capture weapon. So now when Tidus hits an enemy, if it is an enemy vulnerable to death status ailment, he will be captured in just one hit. So what I am doing currently is to scroll down. At that time I didn't know that you could use the triggers to go down faster, but anyway, go down the list and customize all of your capture weapons to make them more efficient. So with Auron, I simply add the piercing ability because this way I can deal more damage to armored enemies. But the most important is with my main character I used Tidus. You could use a different one. For example, Waka could do the job perfectly as well because he has a very good accuracy, so he can hit every monster in the game. So basically choose your main character which will capture the majority of monsters, give him a capture weapon plus add the Death Strike ability, and they will die in simply one hit. So that is my advice, do it if you want or not, but in my eyes it will help incredibly to fasten the process of capturing all monsters. So there you go for this video, I hope you enjoyed it. I will continue this walkthrough. The next video will be all about the Cavern of the Stolen Faith, which is the next step, the next side quest. And that's it for today, thank you for watching, cheers!